let me tell you a story about a CEO of a large corporation in the United States. This was a man of importance. He was a man of authority. He had the ability to perfectly balance the familiar as well as innovation. As his company grew and he started launching new product lines, he decided that he needed to hire a videographer to highlight both his own qualities and the qualities of this product line. So the question has to be asked, how could a filmmaker come in, set the stage to highlight the qualities of the CEO as well as his new product line? Well, it doesn't matter because I didn't do any of those things. I didn't use any tools or understanding to make a really interesting shot, and it was boring. So today, we're going to study one new idea, the incorporation of triangles from old art to try to be better today. Films we create today stand on the shoulders of the artists of the past. We are looking back at the most famous art throughout history, from paintings to music to speeches and sculptures. Truth is truth, and there's lessons to be learned. Triangles have been present in the very earliest forms of art. In ancient Greek pottery, in the 7th century BC, representing strength, stability, and direction. However, for the sake of this discussion, we're going to start in the Renaissance period, where the triangle kind of took on a deeper meaning and more concepts. The simplest use of triangles during the 15th century was fairly common. It was in religious paintings, like Madonna and Child. We see the triangle both highlight the power of the single figure, Mary, juxtaposing the child as vulnerable. It is especially powerful in religious paintings because it echoes the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and the perfect cohesiveness of multiple parts working as one. Triangles don't necessarily require people, though. You can see in this painting called The Kitchen Garden, it has all the lines drawing the eye upwards towards the center. It makes the viewer's eyes walk up the path and kind of wonder what's through that door. This triangle not only creates mystery, but it also maintains a sense of peace and stability. Shaping light is another great way to incorporate and emphasize triangles in art. In this piece by Frederick Armling called The Mother and Kids, the light emphasizes the triangle by shining on the face as well as across the waist. It perfectly frames in the 3 children who seem to be trying to climb up and gain the highly sought after attention of the mother at its peak. Now, it might seem obvious on how to use this in your filmmaking. If you have a speaker or someone you want in charge, put them over a group. If you can shape your light in a way that creates these triangles that makes their head at the top, then go ahead and do that. It gives this feeling of being in charge, of someone who's important, who's prominent. Now, none of this is exactly groundbreaking when it comes to understanding triangles and how they work in compositions. It's all pretty basic stuff. But it's this next concept that really deepened my understanding of how to use triangles and make dynamic shots. It's the concept of the golden triangle. Here, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Okay, so imagine you're looking at the frame of your camera. Extend the line from corner to corner. Then, using the 2 unused corners, create 2 more lines so they reach the original line at a 90-degree angle. Now what you'll see is it has created multiple triangles. This is called the golden triangle. This composition technique is very commonly used when there are 2 points of interest on the frame. A few things that I want to draw your attention to, though. The lines of the painting roughly follow along the lines that we drew from the start. It may be the characters of the painting or the background lines, but they all follow along the golden triangle. If there aren't any lines that follow along the pattern, oftentimes painters will use the eye set of characters to do so. This creates unity, connection, and increases the overall flow. Look at this painting of Saint Sebastian. The body is the only thing on the main line, yet his eyes and the pointing of his knee complete the golden triangle. These implied lines give purpose and direction while maintaining the sense of freedom. Having multiple characters follow along these lines allow them to feel connected, even if they aren't directly interacting. I found this painting by Howard Lyon that expresses this idea really well. These 3 characters all seem to be in their own mental worlds, but they are all lined up down the lines of the golden triangle. It seems like they're all separately thinking about the same problem. So how can we use golden triangles in filming? You may have noticed that the 2 intersecting points of the golden triangle are also 2 points that are found in dividing our frame into a grid of thirds. One simple way to use this idea is in the classic interview shot. We've all seen it and probably used it. It's where you have the subject on the 3rd line, they kind of look slightly off camera, and then they have something in the background that lands on the other point of the golden triangle. It's pretty basic. But if you want to create different emotions, you can have your subjects turn their head the other way, kind of look off screen. It gives almost a contemplative side of things or an uneasiness because they don't have the space for their eyesight to continue the proper way. Take a look at this interview shot by Stefano Ferrari in the film Surviving Black Hawk Down. The subject faces off screen to convey the uneasiness of the situation, but his arms and eyesight extend nearly right down the golden triangle. The window provides the perfect balance on the other side. When filming B-roll, try to find lines that fit this rule. Put your subjects on one of the 2 points or looking down the lines of the golden triangle. If you're shooting landscape shots, frame them in a way where the most prominent figure falls along these points or the pieces of the environment fit within the golden triangle. Now, let's go one level deeper in our understanding, bringing multiple triangles together. In one of the most famous paintings of the world, The Birth of Venus, there are 3 obvious groups of triangles. The entire painting is focused on Venus, highlighting her prominence and reverence. And within each triangle on the composition, there's a story to be told. It's not just a triangle for the sake of having a triangle or something to point at something, but the characters within the outer triangles are contributing to the overall story of the main character at the center. So like reading, we start from the left. It's the wind god blowing at her, and in his hands he's carrying a young female who's also blowing. So this represents the 2 forces of a greater breeze and a lighter breeze. Their joint efforts are blowing Venus towards the shore, representing a harmony of the strong and weak force that can't be controlled. Then to the right, we have a single female figure who's floating slightly above the ground and holding a cloak to dress Venus as she comes to the shore. She is one of the Greek minor goddesses of the seasons, representing spring. This represents new beginnings. As they all come together, we get a full image, the goddess of love and beauty arriving on land. It's probably the island of Cyprus, and it practically embodies the rebirth of civilization, of new hope, a social and cultural shift which occurs after the Middle Age turmoil. It's a rebirth coming as a breath of fresh air, and it brings with it a new hope. But what if this painting was constructed differently? Imagine the 2 characters on the outsides were facing away. It would make the central figure feel lonely, isolated, less important. It would completely change the meeting. Sometimes you can have 2 triangles standing tall. This can also set up 2 characters of equal importance. Depending on how you light them, how they're facing, the colors in the shots, and their own expressions, this can either be a cooperative stance or create adversaries. Listen, this is all great if you have endless time to set up a shot or you're in a controlled environment. But what if you're out there shooting B-roll and you have a crowd of 1 million people, or you're in nature and there's a tree and you can't just move the whole tree? Well, there's still ways to use these lessons. Well, the lesson here is control what you can control. You have the ability to frame things properly, even in the most uncontrollable environments. In one of the most stunning pictures of the French Revolution, Liberty Guiding the People, it is painted in a way that shows how chaotic war is, but yet everything is composed in a way where the flag is at the center of the triangle. You are looking slightly upwards at the woman holding the flag. The light fades away darker and darker as we move away from the flag into the background, and everyone's eyes are again pointing directly at the triangle. So ask yourself when you're filming B-roll, where are you positioned in relation to your subject? Can you move 100 feet to the right or left to create angles that incorporate new lines? Is there a person or a group all looking at something? Think about, how can I put the audience and the subject into these positions? I know that I didn't really see these things right away when I started, but as I began to study this and practice, they became so much more obvious that they were all over the place. Now let's go back to the CEO interview from the beginning. It probably would make sense to have really dramatic lighting. And we're not trying to invoke uncertainty in the viewer, so this shot probably doesn't work either. Or we could put him on one of the third lines, have him look slightly off screen like we talked about before, and just be done with it. But then he just kind of looks like another employee. He doesn't have those qualities of importance or authority. Or we could put him at the center of the frame. Now, this is a great way to make him the center of attention. Again, that importance, that authority that we're looking for. You can use lines in the background, such as pillows, to create a pyramid. Now, I'm just in my house, but imagine if there was a corporate background behind me full of offices and workers. He would be the one in control of all these things because he's in front of them. All these things tell a story. Another thing to think about is, what is he wearing? Is he wearing clothes that blend into the background, or does he have some color that pops out? Is it something unique, something that puts him at the head? All these things really contribute to the overall story that we're trying to tell of a CEO. The last thing is, when making your films, just get creative with it. Look for your lines, shape your light, look for eyesight that create these triangles. Use the golden triangle concept to create cohesiveness and flow within each one of your shots. Bring in multiple triangles, each with their own story contributing to the larger composition as a whole to create something bigger than just one simple subject. All these things can be used to create a shot that's not just ordinary, but that's extraordinary. And that's what we're looking to do, is to wow people with intentional decisions to create beautiful looking compositions. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you understand and learn something about triangles and shots. My name is Sam Johnston. Thank you so much for watching.